I think that when you look at what the Jets have done this offseason, especially in free agency, adding Corey Davis, then adding Carl Lawson, which they lost for the season, and then adding additional pieces like Morgan Moses or drafting Elijah Moore or Elijah Vera-Tucker. I think the Jets have positioned themselves very, very well to succeed going into the season. Now, success doesn't mean making the playoffs or winning a Super Bowl in their first year with a rookie quarterback. The thing is, what success shows me for the New York Jets is growth. If this team goes into the season and shows you that they're a growing team, Robert Saleh shows you that he's a coach. Zach Wilson shows everybody why he could be a franchise quarterback, and some people compare him, a.k.a. Tony Romo, comparing him to Dan Marino or Patrick Mahomes. If he can show an opportunity to believe, for Jet fans to think that he is the next big thing and big quarterback in this league, Speedy, they position themselves very, very good in next year where they have all those draft picks and the free agency market where they have $70-something million.
The Jets are in a transitional year right now. We expect them to be better than they were last year just because of more stable coaching, great offseason bargains. Obviously, losing Lawson was unfortunate, but still was a good contract for a nice young pass rusher. They have a lot of receiving depth now, better offensive line. Obviously, their weaknesses are still shown, but for a team that was 2-14 last year, for a team that had a lot of players that were overpaid, a lot of veteran guys that didn't want to be there, they really transitioned the team nicely. The identity of this team is new. It's a fresh new culture, and that's what they needed. Robert Saleh is a guy that's worked with a lot of different players in San Francisco. Yes, granted, some of them are very talented, but he also did well at developing a lot of players that a lot of people didn't know about. A lot of 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks, a lot of backup players that they made work with the injuries. He made that kind of thing work in San Francisco as the defensive coordinator. Now he gets to bring that kind of culture to be a head coach, and he's going to bring that to a lot of new players, a lot of late draft picks that have to work into this defense, and same thing with the offensive players too. He's been liked by all these offensive players, liked by Zach Wilson, and that's a very good sign, and that's going to be a good sign for a lot of teams that made a lot of questionable head coaching hires. The Jets, I don't think, are one of them, and you're definitely going to see that. Now, in terms of the record, in terms of the way the season evolves, I think they'll start a little slow just because they have a lot of new pieces all at once, a lot of young players all at once, but I think they'll find their groove later. It's a hard schedule for the Jets to start the season. They got this week against Carolina, and then I think they have the Patriots twice in the next 4 weeks after that.
Yep.
And the Patriots and Bill Belichick, they tend to do well against rookie quarterbacks historically.
They have a rookie quarterback too starting. Robert Saleh is a very good defensive coordinator, and he does very well against rookie quarterbacks as well.
Absolutely. But still, the Patriots' track record against rookie quarterbacks defensively has always been strong. Look at Justin Herbert, who won Rookie of the Year offensively last year. He had his worst game of the season against the Patriots. So just because you're talented and play well the rest of the time doesn't guarantee anything. But still, the Jets, I think, will transition nicely. They have some obvious strengths with that offensive line. The middle of their defensive line is great when it's healthy. They get C.J. Mosley back. Marcus May is playing as of right now, obviously amidst the contracts. And the rest of the teams will just have to develop under Saleh's defense and the platoons. And you're going to see a lot of platoons with the offense, too, with the receivers, with the running backs. I think the Jets will be kind of like you saw with the Bengals last year and the Cardinals the year before. They'll be in a lot of games, competitive. They might lose some close ones, but I think they'll transition and get better as the season goes along.
I think when you look at the big picture, Zach Wilson, this is an opportunity to prove in game number 1, week number 1 against Sam Darnold, the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. And this isn't Zach Wilson versus Sam Darnold. It is the New York Jets versus the Carolina Panthers. I know a lot of Jet fans want to see the Jets beat Sam Darnold because they don't want to look like the idiots, like the fools over the years where they had an opportunity to keep Sam Darnold, but they decided to drop him and trade him and get Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson doesn't necessarily have to outplay Sam Darnold to beat him. If the Jets can win game number 1, which I believe they will, and I've predicted the Jets to win this game this week, the Carolina Panthers have offensive line trouble. 2 of their offensive linemen have come down with COVID-19. So this is a great opportunity for the Jets to really dominate, especially the weakness that they've lost Carl Lawson for the season and edge rushers, Vinny Curry for the season as well. So the Jets are really weak in that position. So the fact that the Carolina Panthers are going to be missing 2 offensive linemen, the benefits going into the game vary to the New York Jets. Now, the Jets have a lot of injuries too. Keenan Cole is not playing. Carl Lawson's out for the season. Mekhi Beckham's coming back from concussion. Elijah Vera-Tucker didn't play all preseason. Either did Elijah Moore. So the Jets going into the season, there's a lot of question marks with the New York Jets. But being that it's the Carolina Panthers, being that it is Robert Saleh's first game, I think they're going to come out strong in Carolina. And I believe that Sam Darnold playing on the line of scrimmage, it definitely benefits the New York Jets because a lot of the players know him and understand how to get to him and mentally and physically. So I think the Jets have an advantage in this game.
The biggest matchups that the Jets are going to have to win if they're going to win this game, they have to have either their corners or just the coverage scheme be able to do well against those wide receivers. Because the Panthers have a lot of receiving depth. Obviously, Robbie Anderson being the ex-Jet is the one that they're going to know the most. But they still got DJ Moore. They drafted Terrence Marshall, who probably would have been a first-round pick if he wasn't hurt a lot of last season. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, who's the best receiving back in all of football, arguably the best running back in football. So they have a lot of different weapons. The outside of the Panthers' offensive line is a little questionable. They got Taylor Moton, who's a nice young tackle, but Pat Elflein hasn't been great in his career.
New York Jet.
Cameron Irving has been bounced around many different teams. The Jets could definitely attack that side of the line and make it work. And Sam Darnold, we've seen him be flustered at times. So Robert Saleh maybe could use some slot blitz concepts, overload that one side of the line, and maybe get him flushed. The thing is, the Panthers' offense is a very quick release, faster paced offense, where the Jets' secondary is going to be tested in those instances. And Saleh, who doesn't normally like to blitz, might have to blitz a little more often and maybe do some more physical press type schemes in order to get the work. Because as good as the Panthers receivers are, they are small too. So if they could do that, they could definitely take advantage and maybe just contain McCaffrey or let McCaffrey do everything and then contain everybody else. That could be an advantage. The Jets offense, I think, should play well in this game. The Panthers defense is very young. It's better, but it's still a lot of new players all at once. So the Jets, with their receiving depth, should be able to do well. And I think Zach Wilson can outplay Sam Darnold. I just don't like some of the team matchups for the Jets against the Panthers.
As far as some of the games this week, I think this is a great week one. Last year it was terrible. Week one was terrible with the competition, but there are a few games that really stand out to me, Speedy. Arizona and Tennessee, two teams that a lot of people believe are playoff-bound teams. Arizona with the additions that they've added, the A.J. Greens of the world, the offensive line talent that they added, and also defensive side of the ball, and we all know who we're talking about.
Yep. Jeff's Hall of Famer.
Yes, the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is an MVP candidate. A lot of people predict. I think he's right now a 20-1 opportunity to win the MVP. I think he's going to be sensational this year, especially with some of the additions they've made this year in the offseason. And then there's Tennessee, who a lot of people, including yours truly, believe they're a Super Bowl contender. Adding Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, beast mode situation, and I do mean beast mode. And A.J. Brown, I don't know if he's going to start on Sunday. He is fighting injury right now, but this team is pretty much loaded. Now, I don't trust Mr. Tannehill, and that going into the season, he's got to prove to me that he can win the big game and go into the playoffs, which he proved last year he couldn't. But this team is loaded. I think Tennessee has great coaching staff. Vrabel is as good a young coach we've seen in a long time. This game really stands out more than all of the other ones.
Yeah, expect a lot of points in this one just because these two defenses are both kind of in transition. They're improved from where they were last year, but a lot of young secondary pieces for both teams. Both are good in the front seven. Outside rushing is probably better with the Cardinals, and the middle of the field is better with the Titans. But I think you're going to expect a lot of points in this one for sure, especially with those receivers. Both teams have deep receiving cores. Obviously, we don't know about the Titans duo with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And Brown should play. I think it's more of a precautionary measure.
A.J. Green and Mr. Hopkins are not a bad dynamic duo either. A.J. Green, future Hall of Famer.
Right.
And obviously, we know what Hopkins is. I believe the best all-around wide receiver in all of football, besides Devontae Adams. So this is going to be a fun game, offensive game. But watch, it turns into a defensive game. I wouldn't be surprised.
That might be a good sign for their teams because they're more offensive teams. Like, all right, our defense played well against this other top offense.
And I don't think Tennessee's defense is going to be as bad as it was last year.
I don't either.
I think they just had a bad year. I think they're going to be fun to watch, explosive on both sides of the ball. So expect this game to be one of the best games of the week. Also, a game that stands out to me is Cleveland and Kansas City. We talk about Baker Mayfield, the acquisitions that they've made in the offseason, bringing Jadeveon Clowney. This team is as loaded as any team in football. You have Odell Beckham coming back. Hopefully they use Jarvis Landry a little bit more. Hunt and Chubb. You want to talk about an explosive team. Well, all you got to do is look in the nice almanac or dictionary. You'll find the Cleveland Browns. Kansas City is also a stacked team with the weapons that they have. Travis Kelce, who is, I believe, the best tight end in football. And then Tyreek Hill. And then Patrick Mahomes, who everybody thinks is the best quarterback since maybe the best ever. The offensive line reconstructed in the offseason, adding Brown in a trade, drafting a big-time center, and then obviously adding Thuney from the New England Patriots, where everybody thought they overpaid, but who knows? Maybe that will transition this team to be a contender for the next couple of years. Kansas City is as dangerous as any team in football. So that game, Speedy, 425, is a game to definitely watch.
Yeah, the Browns have a lot of depth, too, on their defense. It's not just the star power that they have with Myles Garrett, who's probably the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. They got Denzel Ward, but they got a lot of depth, too. Young linebackers that played well last year, young secondary that played better than expected last year, considering all the injuries they had. They bring in Troy Hill. They get both their LSU guys back, Grant Delpit, who they drafted last year, and Greedy Williams. They signed John Johnson from the Rams, who played well in that defense. They got a lot of depth on that team. A lot of guys that played well their first year in that scheme. And that's a good sign for a team that finally has some organizational stability, where they, like the Jets and the Giants in recent years, have had to go through a carousel of coaches, and now they finally have some stability. The Chiefs, I don't love their defense as much as last year, but Steve Spagnuolo will definitely be creative with the way he runs it. New offensive line, we'll see how they play in their first game. It might take a little time for them to gel, but Mahomes and Hill and those guys should be able to overcome it and definitely should make this a fun game.
And then Sunday Night Football, which I think is going to be a fun game. The rebuilt and ununderstanding Chicago Bears. And why I say that is, why are they starting Andy Dalton when they moved up to draft Justin Fields? He looked sensational in the preseason, but Andy Dalton will be starting game 1 in LA against the Rams, the newly constructed quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And to me, this is the LA Rams' year, being that the home game of the Super Bowl is in LA. Matthew Stafford, LA residential type of player, and being that he always wanted to come home, he grew up a Rams fan, an LA Rams fan. I think this game is going to be fun. I do believe we'll see Justin Fields one way or another in this game. I do believe Andy Dalton will be pulled in this game, especially if they fall behind gracefully in this game, which I believe they will.
The last couple of Bears-Rams matchups have been very low-scoring games, showing that they have either in good defensive depth, obviously some big stars with Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack facing off with each other, and good coaching across the board with their defense. Now, whether the Bears can get that with their offense is another question. There's been some question marks with Matt Nagy the last couple of years after his first year in the league. Now, I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people think, but again, I agree with you. Definitely starting Fields is definitely the move they should have been making, and I do think you'll end up seeing him in this game if the Bears fall behind by 14 or so points. Now, do I think they will? No, because their defense has played well historically against the Sean McVay offense, and this offense for the Rams, they get Stafford, but they still have question marks with their run game. Darrell Henderson's been up and down with injury throughout his career. The Sony Michel's his first game in that scheme. And their offensive line is good, but it's not like world class where you could trust it either. So I feel like you're going to be favoring more of a low-scoring game in this one, which is why I don't know if you'll see Fields in this game immediately, but I think they're going to see, all right, Andy Dalton's not the guy. Let's put Fields in for week 2, and then he'll take off and run with it.
And now, guys, we're going to do this every single week. We're going to call this the Weekend Crunch, 3 for all NFL picks of the week. This is what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to pick our top 3 games, and we're going to pick a winner and the over-unders. Are you ready, Speedy?
Yes, here we go.
All right, here we go.
So the first game is the Cardinals and the Titans, and the over-under for that is 52.5.
I am going to take the Titans in this game. I'm going to say the under. I don't think it's going to be over 52 points. I think the game will be defensively played at one point, especially in the second half of the game, being that the Titans are at home. As good as the Cardinals are going to be this year, I think Kyler Murray is going to be sensational this year. He's going to have a good game. I'm going to take the Titans in the game on the under.
I'm going to take the Titans as well, but I'm going to take them on the over because I think, like I said, these defenses are kind of in transition. Both of them have very young corners. These receiving cores with the depth that they have, the talented players that they have, I think the Titans will end up winning this game on the over. Both these teams are kind of defense in transition, so I'm going to go the over. All right, Browns and Chiefs. Over-under is 54.5 for this one.
I'll let you pick first on this one.
All right, I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to take them on the slightly over. I literally have them 55 points, like literally as close as you can get. But I think the Chiefs, new offensive linemen all at once. It's going to be a tough test against Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, that interior linebackers that could rush the passer too. A lot of depth on this team. A lot of tough matchups for a Chiefs secondary that got worse in the offseason too against those receivers. Good luck. I got the Browns on the over.
I've got the Chiefs on the under. I think being the fact that it's going to be in Kansas City, I think Patrick Mahomes and this offensive line is going to have a lot of woes in this game because it's a new offensive line reconstructed. But I really like the Chiefs in this game. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to do the things that they need to do against the Browns to keep the Browns off the board. Give me the Chiefs on the under.
All right, last one on the Sunday night. The Bears at the Rams. The over-under is 46.5. And I hinted at earlier, I think it's a low-scoring game. I'm going to take the Rams on the under. I think both these defenses have played well against both offensive coaches, but good defensive coaching we've seen in this game. Great defensive superstars across the board in this game, but it's in L.A. I'm going to give the edge to the Rams just because the Bears have a little more question marks right now, so I'll take Rams on the under.
Give me the Rams. I expect the Rams to come out strong. Matthew Stafford, his first game home. No pressure whatsoever. I think the fact that Andy Dalton will be starting the game, it's not Justin Fields, definitely benefits the Rams. And I think it's going to be on the under because even though I believe that both teams are very highly profile defensive teams. I also believe that both offenses are going to have woes, being that it's Sean McVay's offense and Matthew Stafford's first year. And the Bears, we don't even know who the quarterback is. So give me the Rams on the under.